my fellow Selmites, it's Troy here with another video. And it looks like, looking here at the video, I don't see that spot right there. I was kind of hoping it stayed out of frame, but just came back from coffee on Rayford. There it is, coffee on Rayford. And actually dribbled some that came up out of the spout here. Got on my shirt, I was like, doggone it! So anyway, wanted to talk to you guys about trash talk. So let's talk trash a little bit. One of the things about the last town council meeting that I went to, there was some discussion about recycling. And there was some recycling talk back in the July town council meeting as well. And if you're in Selma, you could probably hear, I'm sitting here, got a train going by, which is pretty normal for those of us. So if you hear it, you know, I'm like a block from the railroad tracks. Never be surprised if you hear that. My other YouTube channel that I do for my hobby, every once in a while you can hear the train. But back in July, they talked about recycling and some of the problems that we've been having. And they presented this last the October meeting with a few pictures of some of the problems that we've had. Now I'm going to put up one of the pictures that I took with my camera, my cell phone camera, that they were showing, and I'll admit, this is ridiculous for whatever homeowner here in town that did this, to be able to put that much stuff into a recycle bin and put it out at the road. Yes, recycle bins are not meant to be normal trash dumpsters. One of the things that bothered me, however, out of that meeting, there was some discussion about if you put stuff into a recycle dumpster that is not meant to be recyclable and you are a known habitual offender, one of two things. They're talking about fining you. The possibility of levying a fine against you for doing that. Or number two, they're talking about the possibility of taking away your dumpster. So you can't do it anymore. And all that does is force you to put it in the regular trash. And that kind of defeats the purpose of recycling. I'm not a big proponent of recycling for a bunch of reasons. One of which is cost effectiveness for the town. And number two, because it's not as efficient as it's cracked up to be. As people make it out to be for saving the planet and natural resources. I am not against recycling, don't get me wrong. I'm just not a proponent of it either. It has its place, and I don't have any problem with people doing it. I do have a problem, however, if you're going to use the save the planet mentality to try to cram that down everybody's throats as an agenda so that you end up paying more. Don't appreciate that whatsoever. One of the things that they did, if you got one of these Selma tracks here that comes with your electricity bill, your utility bill that you get every month, that came out, and there was some, and I'll put a graphic up of it because I did scan this into a JPEG. So there are some serious limitations as to what you can put into recycling. As a matter of fact, I'm going to share some web links here of recycling myths. As to what is and what is not recyclable. So let's talk about some of these right here. Paper. You know, they don't take wet, soiled, or waxed paper. They don't take pizza boxes. I guess there's some kind of safety concern with pizza boxes. Not that I understand it. Shredded paper. I have a shredder here in my office. And I run my paper that I don't want personal identification or personal information or even credit card solicitations that I get from people into my shredder. We just emptied it out just this morning and put it into a trash bag because they don't want us to recycle it. Okay, well, it's paper, but apparently they don't want to take that in any way, shape, or form, probably because it also has to go into a plastic bag. We'll talk more about plastic bags here momentarily. And disposable cups. Even though they're paper cups, no, don't want those. So a lot of things you would think would be recyclable are not. For cardboard, they want you to flatten the boxes, they want you to remove plastic or paper liners. You can't have any styrofoam peanuts. Now that's one of the things, styrofoam. They don't want you throwing that into the landfill, right? Wasn't that the big thing? We don't want styrofoam because it's not biodegradable, blah, blah. Okay, well, what do you want us to do with it? Obviously, we're not supposed to be recycling it. All right, so they don't want us to have wax-coated beverage containers. Okay, fine. Glass. Here's one that's kind of surprising to me. They want you to move all the lids off from any glass. They want you to rinse, remove any residue, and let it dry. Now, on the myths pages that I found, not necessarily the case, but the town of Selma, the information that they put out is they want you to take your glass jars, rinse them out. So, in order to save natural resources, you're wanting me to use natural resources, for which, by the way, the town will be charging me to use those natural resources to clean it out and then to dispose of said glass. And they don't want you to break any glass. But they're not going to take window glass. Why? I don't know. It's glass. So when I replaced a few windows here, because we had some broken windows, the glass, I can't just throw it in the recycle bin, which is okay. Drinking glasses, they don't want that kind of glass. They don't want mirrors. It's glass, but apparently there are some differences there. They don't want you to have cans, batteries, power tools, batteries, scrap metal, or wood. I thought the whole idea with scrap metal is that you recycled it, but apparently they don't want scrap metal. Okay, fine. Plastics. Now keep in mind, it's state law that we're not supposed to be throwing plastic bottles from drinking water or soda bottles into landfills, right? So, they don't want, let's see, they want us to rinse containers to remove residue, again. And then they want you to let it dry before putting it into the collection container. So, no styrofoam cups, packing material, no plastic bags or wrap. Now, you can take plastic bags, the kinds that you get from like Walmart and Food Lion and Lowe's and places like that, and there are recycle bins out there, let's say right outside the Food Lion here in Selma, that you can put your plastic bags in there. But they don't want recyclable plastic bags at the recycle center because my understanding from what I've read, they can get caught in some of the gears that process stuff and it kind of gums up the works. Okay, well, that's a bit of a problem. So you want me to recycle my paper. How many of you that may be watching have children and have done Christmas at home? What do you have? Wrapping paper. You got kids, you're going to end up with wrapping paper all over the floor. And what we do every single year, we get a trash bag and we put it all into the trash bag. So what are we going to do instead? Hey kids, grab an armful of this paper, walk outside in the cold, it's December, and put it down in the dumpster loose. Or you're going to tell your kid, all right, take this bag, this plastic trash bag full of wrapping paper, because it's recyclable now, and let's go ahead and take it to that dumpster and open up that bag and take everything out of it so all the paper can be recycled. Then take that plastic bag and throw it in the other dumpster. So folks, it's a little frustrating to me how we do this. Now, in doing my research, a long time ago, actually, I wrote a newspaper column about the ineffectiveness and the inefficiencies that come along with recycling programs. Like I said, not that I'm opposed to them, but I am opposed to the inefficiencies and passing it off as something that you are required to do because of an agenda. If you want to recycle, knock yourself out. Look, when I was part of a 501c3 organization, we used to collect aluminum cans and take them down to a recycle center and sell by the pound. And we used to get money to help run that group by recycling aluminum cans. I got nothing wrong. I got no problem with recycling. Now keep in mind, we are paying a company to come and get all of our recyclables and take them to a recycle center. The company that we have, if they have 1%, just 1% is, quote, contaminated, meaning it's stuff that they don't want to have as recyclables or some regular trash thrown in, then they will reject the entire load, take it to the landfill, and dump it, and we'll pay the tipping fee per ton for that. Be honest with you, I've got no problem with that because it's probably more cost efficient for us here in town. I'll get to that here in a little bit as well. So we're paying a company who's, by the way, supposed to be sorting everything. Not everything's done by machine. A lot of it's done by hand, too, with different companies. And I've actually seen some of these in operation in documentaries on TV as to how some operate versus others. But So we're paying them to come get it for them to make a profit off from us. And they are complaining about us not meeting their standards as to how they want to collect our refuse. So you're making money off from us, and you're going to tell us how to dispose of things for them to make money off from it. Not my problem. Sorry. That mentality has got to go. It's garbage. We're getting rid of it. Whether it goes into a landfill, an incinerator, which, by the way, is not necessarily a bad idea, instead of, let's say, coal or natural gas. That's just my personal opinion. But there are other ways of handling things than recycling, and I don't think it's necessarily a problem not recycling. I don't think it's a problem to recycle either, but you gotta be cognizant of the costs. We cannot let a company that we are paying to take our trash tell us, oh, you naughty people, you're not disposing of your trash properly. And I'm thinking, hey, we're paying you to do this. And, your standards and your low or high standards, depending upon which way you look at it, that's your problem, not ours. That's the way I look at it. Now, I'm going to share with you an article that I found just this morning when I was trying to find some of the articles that I'd run across years ago or something similar to them and some of the statistics. But as I was reading, something kind of freaked me out. I found an article on Reason.com, and they're not exactly a partisan website. They're not exactly always conservative. They're not always liberal on stuff. They kind of deal a lot on facts. But I ran across this one article that just baffled me or surprised me. So, small towns are trashing their costly, inefficient recycling programs. This is something I've been pushing for or been cognizant of or supporting of ever since we started this stupid program here, because we got 2 dumpsters and we got to keep up with them. It's bad enough that, having solved all other problems, that at one point our town council wanted the planning board to look at an ordinance to make sure you stuck your dumpster where it couldn't be seen from the street, which is totally implausible, totally not going to happen. Just about impossible. So apparently they've backed off from that. Not a bad thing. Glad they did. All right. So as I was reading through this, I'll read you just the first part of the article. I'll put a link to the article in the video description so you can go read it for yourself. Should that empty soda bottle go into the recycling bin or the trash can? Increasingly, it doesn't really matter. A large portion of America's plastic and paper waste used to go from our recycling bins to China, where it was refashioned into everything from shoes to bags to new plastic products. But since the end of 2017, China has restricted how much foreign trash recycling it buys, including cutting off purchases of waste paper products like all the junk mail that goes directly from your mailbox to the recycling bin. Did you understand that? We buy an incredible amount of goods from China, which right now, by the way, a lot of them are sitting in shipping containers, either waiting to be offloaded or have been offloaded and waiting to be trucked somewhere, and we have a bunch of bare shelves. But we were selling our garbage to China, who would turn around and recycle it. A lot of the steel that gets purchased used to be scrap metal that we would ship all the way to China. They would process it and turn it into something else and ship it all the way back, and it would still be cheaper than made in America. Something's not right. But anyway, China put a clamp on that about 4 years ago, where they don't take those materials anymore. Or at least they've decreased the amount for us shipping our refuse to them for them to recycle and turn it into something else and ship those products back to us. Okay, so as a result, the Atlantic Record reported, and this article came out in 2019, as I recall, that some American cities and towns are sending all those recyclables directly to the landfill. Now, here's the part that freaks me out. In Franklin, New Hampshire, for example, I grew up in Franklin, New Hampshire. I mean, no joke. That's where my parents were from. That's where the family lived. And I went to elementary school, junior high. My diploma says Franklin Junior Senior High School. And that's where I lived before I moved to North Carolina in 1988. Freaked me out when I saw this article. And I still have friends and family that live there on Facebook. I keep up with them all the time. So in Franklin, New Hampshire, for example, a curbside recycling program that launched in 2010 was, and keep in mind, that's later than what we had, because we already had that stupid program going on here prior to 2010, able to break even. What? A recycling program that launched in 2010 was able to break even when the town was selling used paper, metals, and plastics for about $6 per ton. Now, the town is being charged $125 per ton to recycle that stuff. Instead of asking residents to pay much higher prices to recycle or cutting other city services in order to be able to afford the recycling program, city officials have decided instead to send those recyclables to an incinerator. Towns in Idaho, New York, Virginia, and elsewhere have had to make similar choices in recent months, The Atlantic reports, an environmental signaling that has come at a steeper price. Okay. Thank you, Franklin, New Hampshire, for making a smart decision, in my opinion. And quite honestly, Selma, North Carolina probably should be right behind them doing the exact same thing. Look, we already pay a higher fee to cart off our garbage than does Smithfield. As it is, Smithfield's cheaper on their trash services than they are here in Selma. $25 a month is what we are paying. $25 a month for trash pickup. I'm old enough to remember when paying private companies that some people would just, put a dime underneath their dumpster. The dumpster would get dumped and a worker would pick up the dime and put it into the bin. That's how some companies would operate, private companies. So here we've got our contractor coming in, taking everything up, and they are trying to dictate to us how we get rid of our trash and make us change our behavior to suit them rather than having them change the way they do business to suit how we dump our trash. Just my opinion. I am all for saving you money. I am all for getting rid of inefficient programs. I am all for eliminating any kind of agenda that comes down that someone's pushing down to you to make you pay more money to, quote, save the planet. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that it needs to be that way. This is something we really need to consider. This is something, instead of paying for 2 dumpsters and then complaining the fact that you see dumpsters from the road, come on! You already make us have 2 and you're going to complain that they can be seen as you drive around town. Oh, the horror